There is a level of discipline in this world that most people never experience. A kind of inner strength that does not crack under pressure, does not bend under stress, and does not collapse when life becomes heavy. It comes from a forgotten Chinese ritual. A ritual so old that its origins blur into myth, yet its effects are undeniable. This is not motivation. It is not hype. It is not a morning routine you try for 2 days and abandon. This is XINJING, a disciplined ritual practiced by warrior monks, herbal scholars, and quiet hermits who lived far from the noise of society. It trains the mind to stay steady during chaos. It builds a calm so deep that fear loses its grip. It reshapes the self from the inside out. Most people today crumble because their minds are poisoned with overstimulation. Notifications, comparison, anxiety, restlessness, noise that never stops. The modern world teaches you to react fast, but never teaches you to stand still. XINJING does the opposite. It slows the mind, sharpens the senses, hardens the will. It builds a mental armor that cannot be touched by stress, failure, or fear. This video will take you inside that ritual. Not the watered-down version, the real one. If you're tired of feeling distracted, drained, and mentally fragile, if you want strength that cannot be shaken no matter how hard life hits, then listen closely. Because once you understand this system, you'll never see your mind the same way again. Chapter 1. The mind that could no longer hold itself together. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize their mind is no longer listening to them. A moment when discipline stops being something you choose and becomes something you chase. For most people, it happens slowly, almost quietly. For him, it happened all at once. He woke up one morning and felt a heaviness in his chest that he couldn't explain. Not sadness, not fear. Something worse. A dull, dragging fog that made even the smallest task feel impossible. His alarm rang, but his hand didn't move. The sun rose, but he stayed in the same position, staring at the ceiling as if it held the answers he'd been searching for. He wasn't always like this. Years ago, he had a sharp, steady mind. He could push himself through discomfort. He could stay focused even when life demanded more than he wanted to give. But somewhere along the way, the world sped up faster than he could follow. Notifications, deadlines, pressures, expectations. They piled on top of him until his own thoughts felt like a storm he couldn't escape. He tried the usual fixes. Motivational videos, morning routines, productivity hacks, detoxes, journaling. Nothing stuck. Each method worked for a day or two, then collapsed under the weight of his old habits. And each failure made him feel weaker. Guilt, frustration, shame. They grew together like roots around his mind. Every night, he promised himself he would change tomorrow. Every morning, he woke up with the same heaviness, the same silent resistance. He didn't know it yet, but he wasn't dealing with a lack of motivation. He was dealing with a deeper fracture, the kind that forms when the mind no longer trusts itself. One evening, after another day of failed attempts, he found himself sitting alone in his small apartment, surrounded by half-finished plans. A workout schedule pinned to the wall. A list of goals he hadn't touched. Books he meant to read stacked on the table. It all felt like a museum of broken promises. He closed his eyes and whispered, almost without thinking, "Why can't I control myself anymore?" The question didn't echo. It didn't bring clarity, but it opened something inside him. A need for answers, not tricks. A need for something real, something ancient, something built on the understanding that discipline was not an emotion, not a burst of motivation, but a lifetime practice. That night, while searching for anything that might help, he stumbled on a short reference buried in an article. It mentioned an old Chinese discipline ritual, an ancient mental framework used by monks, warriors, scholars, and ordinary men thrown into extraordinary challenges. It wasn't just a system. It was a process, a reshaping of the mind itself. A disciplined ritual built on intention, awareness, endurance, and clarity. A ritual designed not to hype the mind, but to rebuild it. The name caught his attention immediately. XINJING Liandu, the refining of the true mind. The words felt heavy, powerful, almost alive. He read that this ritual was centuries old, practiced in temples, training halls, mountain retreats, even quiet rural villages where self-mastery was treated as seriously as survival. It wasn't about being strict for the sake of strictness. It wasn't about forcing the mind. It was about returning it to its original shape. A mind that could stand upright again. A mind that didn't bend under pressure. A mind that didn't run from discomfort. The deeper he read, the more he realized this system wasn't like anything he tried before. It didn't promise quick changes. It didn't encourage sudden intensity. It didn't chase motivation or dopamine spikes. It demanded honesty, structure, stillness, repetition. It demanded that you face the parts of yourself you preferred to ignore. He sat back, thinking about it. The idea of rebuilding his discipline from the ground up felt exhausting. But the truth was simple. He was already exhausted. He was tired of starting over. Tired of losing small battles in his mind. Tired of watching his willpower shrink every time life threw something hard at him. He needed something different. And for the first time in months, he felt a flicker, not excitement, not confidence, but something much quieter. A small, steady spark of curiosity. A feeling that maybe, just maybe, there was still a version of himself worth fighting for. The ritual described 4 stages. Each one reshaped a different part of the mind. Each one stripped away the weakness he had allowed to grow. Each one promised something he had forgotten he could create. Inner steel. He closed his laptop and stared at the darkness of his room. The decision was small, almost weightless. But some decisions change everything. Tomorrow, he would begin the ritual. Not to fix his life in a week. Not to chase motivation. But to rebuild the discipline he had lost piece by piece. For the first time in a long time, he felt something shift within him. Not strength. Not certainty. Just a quiet readiness. And that was enough. Chapter 2. The Ritual of Mental Forging. Imagine a morning before the sun rises. The world is still half asleep, and the only sound is the soft hum of the wind brushing against old temple walls. This is when the ritual begins. Not in chaos, not in adrenaline, but in silence. True discipline is not born in noise. It's born in stillness. The man steps outside his room in the ancient monastery, the same place where Chinese warriors once trained their minds before they trained their bodies. This ritual was not designed to make someone stronger in a day. It was crafted to rebuild the mind piece by piece, like forging steel. And just like steel, the mind must be heated, hammered, cooled, and shaped again. He wakes before dawn because in Chinese discipline, timing is everything. Sunrise is not just a moment. It is a doorway, a threshold between who you were yesterday and who you are willing to become today. If you miss it, you miss the battle. And if you miss the battle, you lose the day. The first part of the ritual is called Jing Gong, or still mind. You sit, you breathe, you listen. The world teaches you to chase everything. Jing Gong teaches you to chase nothing. When the man sits on the cold stone floor, he feels the weight of his habits, his fears, his excuses trying to pull him back to his old life. But discipline starts with refusal. Not a loud refusal, a quiet one. Your mind whispers, stop. Your body whispers, later. Discipline whispers, stay. He stays. As minutes pass, he begins to notice things he never saw before. His heartbeat slowing. His thoughts spacing out. The tension in his jaw loosening. Discipline is not only about what you do. It's about what you learn to let go. Then comes the second phase, Gong, or mind intention. This is where everything changes. This is the part most people misunderstand. The world tells you to think positive, visualize success, believe you can. But Qigong teaches something different. It teaches the man to see the truth of who he is right now, not the fantasy of who he wishes to be someday. He imagines the weakness inside him as something physical, not a vague feeling, a shape, a shadow, something he can confront, something he can name, because you cannot defeat a weakness you refuse to see. You cannot rise above something you pretend isn't weighing you down. In Qigong, warriors were trained to picture their fear, their anger, their distractions, their addictions, and face them like enemies on a battlefield. The man pictures his enemy too, the version of himself who quits when things hurt, the version who scrolls for hours to escape reality, the version who says tomorrow every time life demands effort today. The ancient masters said, if you cannot face your mind in silence, you will never face the world in struggle. The man breathes in, and he faces it. Once his intention becomes clear, he moves to the final part of the ritual, Qigong, or moving mind. Discipline is not complete unless the body follows the mind. Thought without action is only dream. Action without thought is chaos. The ritual brings both together. He begins slow movements, the kind practiced by monks and warriors for centuries. Not for the sake of fitness, not for the sake of looking strong, but to connect intention with motion. Every movement becomes a sentence. Every breath becomes punctuation. The body writes the story that the mind has chosen. If he lifts his hands, he lifts them with purpose. If he steps forward, he steps toward a goal. If he exerts strength, it is controlled, not explosive. This is where discipline lives, not in the dramatic moments, but in quiet repetition. The ancient Chinese believed that what you do in the first hour of your day becomes the blueprint for the next 23. If your first hour is chaos, your day becomes chaos. If your first hour is discipline, your day becomes armor. By the time the sun finally breaks over the horizon, the man feels different. Not reborn, that is fantasy, but steadier, sharper, more centered. The ritual did not fix his life. It simply prepared him to face it. And that preparation is what separates strength from collapse. Before, he used to wake up with a flood of thoughts he couldn't control. Now he selects which thoughts enter his mind. Before, he let the day drag him. Now, he steps into the day with intention. This ritual was designed to break the cycle of weakness, because weakness thrives in confusion, distraction, and emotional storms. The ritual removes all three. That's why ancient warriors practiced it for decades. Not to become perfect, but to become unbreakable. And for the first time in years, the man feels something he thought he lost. Not confidence, not excitement, something deeper, control. He realizes that unshakable mental strength is not earned by force. It's earned by alignment, mind, intention, movement. When they line up, discipline becomes natural. When they scatter, life collapses. And so the man rises from the stone floor, looks at the first light of morning, and understands a truth he had ignored his whole life. You do not need the world to become easier. You need your mind to become stronger. This is the heart of the ritual. This is the beginning of unshakable strength. Chapter 3. The ritual that broke his old identity. The morning began before the sky had decided what color it wanted to be. A soft blue was forming, but the world was still holding its breath. Lin stepped outside, feeling the cool air wrap around his skin like an invitation and a warning. Today was the day Master Yun said he would learn the core of the ancient discipline ritual. The one that had shaped monks, soldiers, and scholars. The one that had broken weak men and rebuilt them into something unshakable. Lin wasn't sure if he was ready, but readiness, Master Yun had said, was a luxury. Discipline was born only when luxury ended. He walked into the courtyard. The ground was still damp from the night. Master Yun stood at the far end, wiping a long wooden staff with a cloth. Beside him sat a bowl, a stone, and a strip of red cloth. Simple objects. But Lin felt something heavy in the air, the quiet pressure of tradition older than memory. Master Yin didn't greet him. Instead, he pointed at the center of the courtyard. "Stand," he said. Lin stepped forward and planted his feet. "What do you think this ritual is?" Master Yin asked. Lin swallowed. "A test." Master Yin shook his head. "No, a death." Lin's stomach tightened. "Your old identity dies today," the master continued. "Not through pain. Not through force. Through clarity." He handed Lin the wooden staff. "Hold this." Lin gripped the staff with both hands. It felt heavier than it should. "Now listen carefully," Master Yin said. "The world tells you discipline is about effort, about pushing harder, about forcing your way through weakness. That is wrong. Discipline is not pressure. It is precision." He reached into the bowl and took out a handful of water, letting it drip slowly onto the staff. "This staff," he said, "is your mind. Dry, rigid, unchanged." He poured another stream of water that slid down toward Lin's hands. "And this water is your intention. Too much and it slides off. Too little and nothing changes." He placed a single drop on the back of Lin's hand. But the right amount, delivered with consistency, reshapes the wood. He handed Lin the stone. "And this stone is your habit. Small, simple, unimpressive, but it sharpens everything it touches, as long as you use it every day." Lin looked down at the stone. It was smooth from years of wear. Master Yun spoke again, his voice steady. "The ritual has 3 steps. They are so simple that weak men ignore them. And because they ignore them, they stay weak." He stepped closer. "Step 1, stillness. Before you change anything, you must learn to stop running from yourself." He circled Lin, speaking calmly. "Sit in silence each morning. Not to meditate, not to relax, simply to watch your thoughts without fear. That is the moment your old identity begins to crack." Lin felt the words sink into him like slow heat. "Step 2, cutting." Master Yun lifted the staff slightly. "You choose one thing damaging your strength. Not 10, not 5. 1. And you remove it completely. No negotiation. No fading out. You cut it off like a rotten branch." He pointed at Lin's chest. "Weak men drown because they try to fix everything at once. Strong men begin by fixing one thing deeply." Lin nodded, though his heart was beating hard. "And step 3, Master Yun said, is carving." He held the red cloth and tied it around the staff just below the middle. "This is your new identity, not built by words, not built by motivation, built by the actions you repeat every day, even when you don't feel like it. Ritual becomes routine. Routine becomes identity. Identity becomes strength." He stepped back. "This is the ancient Chinese discipline ritual. Stillness, cutting, carving." Lin stood frozen, absorbing every word. Master Yin lowered his voice. "But here is the truth that most people never want to hear. When you carve a new identity, you will feel lost, empty, uncertain." He tapped the staff against the ground. "That emptiness is not weakness. It is the space where your new strength is built." Lin suddenly felt a weight in his chest, not despair, but realization. He had spent years avoiding silence, avoiding decisions, avoiding himself. And now he stood face to face with the truth. His weakness wasn't a lack of strength. It was the avoidance of clarity. Master Yun looked at him with steady eyes. "Now perform the ritual." Lin hesitated. "Begin," the master said gently. Lin took a breath and knelt on the cool stone floor. He placed the staff across his knees. The courtyard was silent except for the soft rustle of early morning wind. He closed his eyes. Stillness. He counted each breath, letting the noise inside him rise instead of suppressing it. Every regret, every excuse, every fear, he watched them without flinching, then cutting. He chose the one habit that had sabotaged him the most, the nightly slump into distraction. Hours wasted scrolling, numbing himself. Tonight, that version of him would die. Finally carving. Lin wrapped the red cloth tighter around the staff, then around his wrist. A reminder of the identity he would practice every single day, even when his energy failed, even when comfort called him back. He stood. Master Yun nodded. The ritual is complete, but your transformation has only begun. Tomorrow will be harder. The day after, even harder. But by the 7th day, your old identity will be nothing but smoke. Lin felt it, an unfamiliar steadiness rising inside him. Not confidence, not pride. Something cleaner, something sharper. Discipline, ancient, simple, unbreakable. And for the first time in years, he believed he could become strong again. Chapter 4. The day the mind finally stopped running. There comes a moment in every struggle when the noise inside you becomes louder than the world around you. A point where discipline stops feeling like a choice and becomes a demand. This was the moment the man reached on the 12th day of the Chinese discipline ritual. For almost 2 weeks, he had followed the structure without fail. Rise before dawn, cold wash, silent tea, breath counting, posture training, journaling without looking away. And the hardest part of all, staying with one task until it was done, no matter how uncomfortable it felt. His progress wasn't dramatic, but it was steady. His mind wasn't clear yet, but it was quieter. The chaos hadn't left him, but it had stopped screaming. Still, something heavy remained. A restlessness he couldn't explain. A feeling that he was moving forward while something inside him pulled back. So on the dawn of the 13th day, his teacher handed him a broom. Not a sword, not a scroll, not a philosophical lesson. A simple wooden broom. Today, the teacher said, "You clean." The man waited for an instruction. Clean what? The courtyard, the meditation hall, the room he slept in. His teacher only pointed at the ground, and then walked away. The man stood alone, broom in hand, unsure what the task even meant. But the rule of the ritual was simple. Do what is given, do it fully, and do nothing else. So he began sweeping the courtyard stones. The wind had blown leaves everywhere during the night. The surface dust rose in soft clouds as he brushed. It wasn't difficult work. It wasn't meaningful work. It wasn't even interesting work. But he swept anyway. 10 minutes passed. 20. 40. The courtyard was spotless, but he kept going. His mind wasn't quiet anymore. It was irritated, confused, annoyed. He felt like he was wasting time, wasting effort, wasting a day of training that was supposed to strengthen him. He wanted to stop. He wanted to question the point of this. He wanted to ask if there was something more important he should be doing. But that was the lesson. He swept anyway. After another hour, his hands were sore. His shoulders ached. His thoughts were sharp and restless. This makes no sense, he finally said aloud. But the ritual did not care. So he breathed, reset his grip, swept another line across the stones. Eventually, the teacher returned, but only watched from a distance. He didn't correct the man. He didn't guide him. He didn't praise him. He simply observed him, studying the posture, the rhythm, the tension in the man's movements. Only after several hours passed did he walk forward and ask a single question. "What are you fighting?" The man didn't answer. He didn't know, but the teacher did. "You are trying to control everything except your own mind." The man stopped sweeping. The teacher stepped closer. "You want discipline to feel meaningful. You want strength to feel noble. You want every action to have a purpose that makes you feel powerful or productive. but true discipline begins where your preferences end. The man lowered his eyes. The broom suddenly felt heavier. The task is not the test, the teacher said. Your mind is. The courtyard was already clean, but the man swept again. This time slower, steadier, not out of frustration, not out of duty, but out of surrender. Not the weak kind of surrender that comes from giving up, but the deeper kind that comes from letting go. For the first time in years, he wasn't forcing himself to be productive. He wasn't chasing progress. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was simply doing what was in front of him. He swept until his movements turned soft, then smooth, then quiet, and something inside him finally shifted. The noise that usually surged up in waves began to fade. Thoughts that usually tugged at him, memories, regrets, anxieties, lost their grip. The battle inside him didn't end, but the battlefield changed. He wasn't fighting himself anymore. He was observing himself. There is a moment in true discipline where the mind stops running. It doesn't come from strength or motivation or intensity. It comes from repetition without resistance, from the simple act of doing the work even when it feels small. When the man looked up, the teacher nodded. You have stopped chasing control, the teacher said. Now you are ready to build strength. The man didn't feel strong, but he felt stable, present, grounded. For the first time in years, his thoughts weren't pulling him in 10 directions. He wasn't drowning in future worries or past failures. He was here, right here, in the quiet courtyard with a wooden broom and a mind that had finally stopped running. And that was the point of the ritual, to break the chaos inside him, not with force, but with steady, humble discipline. To rebuild the mind not through dramatic challenges, but through small acts done with full presence. To teach him that the opponent he had feared for so long was never the world around him. It was his own thoughts. And for the first time, they were no longer in control. Chapter 5. The Ritual of Unshakable Mind. There is a moment in every person's life when the world demands an answer. Not a verbal answer, not a promise, not a goal, but a demonstration, a quiet declaration through action that says, I do not break here. For centuries, Chinese warriors, monks, and scholars built this declaration through a daily ritual known as XINJING, the practice of still heart. It was a final step, the hardest step, and the step most people never reached because it required confronting the one battlefield they could never escape, their own mind. This chapter begins with a man rising before dawn again, but this time something is different. The exhaustion is still there. The doubts still whisper. But the hesitation, the old enemy that used to sit on his shoulders, has faded into the background. He steps outside into the cold morning air, and for the first time, he isn't fighting against himself to be here. He simply is. And that is the first sign of a shifting identity. The man kneels on the earth, breath rising in thin clouds, as the sun begins to glow behind the horizon. The ritual begins not with strength, but with release. He exhales everything he has been holding, the fear of failing again, the resentment from past attempts, the guilt of wasted time, the terror of being ordinary. And in that long, heavy breath, he understands something he never understood before. You cannot build an unshakable mind while holding on to the weight that shakes you. The monks of old believed the mind is like a blade, not because it cuts enemies, but because it can cut you if not handled correctly. So the morning ritual was designed to shape the blade without shattering it. The man begins with standing meditation, an ancient discipline where you do nothing but hold a posture. But it is not stillness, not really. His legs tremble, his shoulders burn, his breath grows tight, and that is the point. XINJING teaches one truth above all. A mind becomes unshakable only after the body becomes unwilling. This is the moment where the average person quits, where the pain becomes a reason to stop, where the trembling becomes a sign of weakness. But the ancient practitioners saw this moment differently. They believed that the body is not failing here. It is revealing. It reveals the point where the real training begins. The man holds his stance longer than he ever has. Every second stretches into a quiet war. The shaking intensifies, sweat chills his skin, and the ache crawls up his spine like fire. But this time, for the first time, he doesn't look for a way out. He looks inward. Here is where the ritual shifts. Once the body reaches this breaking point, the practitioner speaks a single phrase, not loud, not shouted, but whispered with intention. XINJING. The heart does not move. He says it once, then again, until the words become less sound and more truth. He stays. He breathes. He endures. After what feels like an eternity, he rises from a stance, not collapsing, not gasping, but with a calm, firm presence he has never felt before. He has crossed the first threshold of the ritual, the threshold of physical resistance. But the second threshold is much harder. The man sits cross-legged, eyes closed. Now the battlefield moves fully inside. In the silence, thoughts rush in wordless waves. You're not strong enough. You always quit. You don't have what it takes. You're pretending. You're wasting your time. Old voices, old wounds, old shadows dressed as truth. Most people drown here. The ancient monks knew this. So they taught a technique rarely spoken of, but central to the ritual. Name the intruder. When a destructive thought appears, you do not fight it. You do not debate it. You do not argue with it. You simply identify it. Fear, memory, imagination, doubt. Once named, the mind can no longer disguise it as truth. And suddenly, the thought loses weight. The man begins labeling each attack. One after another, his breathing steadies. His pulse slows. He is discovering the core principle of the ritual. The mind only breaks when you blame the attack on yourself. Once you recognize it as separate, you regain control. He remains in meditation until the final threshold arrives, the threshold of emptiness. It feels like a quiet room inside his chest finally unlocks. The noise drains away. The tightness dissolves. His thoughts slow to the pace of dripping water. This is what ancient warriors trained decades to achieve, a mind that does not panic when the world shakes, a mind that does not scatter when life hits hard, a mind that remains level, grounded, aware, an unshakable mind. When the man opens his eyes, the sun has fully risen. The world feels the same, but he does not. Today he learned something far more powerful than discipline or resilience. He learned that every fear, every doubt, every whisper telling him he is not enough, all of it, is only a shadow. And a shadow cannot harm a man who walks toward the light. He stands, breathes deeply, and steps forward. For the first time, he feels like someone who cannot be broken. Not because life will be soft, not because challenges will disappear, but because he is beginning to understand the truth every ancient master lived by. Strength is not the absence of weakness. Strength is the refusal to obey it. And his ritual has only just begun. In the end, strength was never about becoming untouchable. It was about learning how to stand firm while the world around you keeps shifting. The man who once broke under pressure now walks with a mind that no storm can bend. Not because life got easier, but because he learned the ancient truth the Chinese masters protected for centuries. Fortitude is not built in the moment you need it. It is built in the moments no one sees. The early mornings, the silent nights, the choices that look too small to matter, yet shape everything. If you've watched this far, it means a part of you is searching for the same strength. Not the loud, dramatic kind. The quiet, steady one. The kind that lets you push through doubt, fear, and fatigue. The kind that transforms you without anyone noticing until one day you notice it yourself. If this message reached you, let me know in the comments. What is one discipline you will rebuild starting today? Not a big one. Just one. The smallest one. The one you know you can do tomorrow morning. If you found value, make sure to like the video, share your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this journey of ancient strength and modern transformation. And remember, mental power is not gifted. It is forged. I'll see you in the next video.